Welcome in, everyone. Happy Monday. It is April 7th, 2025. This is your daily dose of positivity with Michael Tharp, EDU. It starts with you. If you guys are in the crypto space, you probably woke up like this guy today, getting some red light therapy from the market, as we predicted last week because of Trump's tariffs. So today we're going to look at the effect of those tariffs, what's going on in the market, some things for you guys to look on. But I want to start, as I'm doing these lives, with some positivity, all right, and to put some perspective on what's going on here. So this is one of my favorite books. It's called Transurfing in 78 Days. And this is just, I've read this a couple times, but it really speaks to me. And I hope it helps you guys out today. So when a person is convinced that all the best things in this world have already sold out, their shelves will remain empty. When they think that buying a high quality item will mean standing in a huge queue and then parting with a large sum of money, then that is exactly what will happen. If a person's expectations are pessimistic and riddled with doubt, then they will undoubtedly be justified. If a person expects to meet with an unfriendly environment, their misgivings will be proven true. However, when a person is imbued with the innocent thought that the world has reserved the best in life for them, this also works. The eccentric who does not know nothing can be achieved without a struggle somehow finds himself or herself at the counter, where there has just been a fresh delivery as if timed especially for them. Then they suddenly learn that the first buyer gets everything for free. A long queue forms behind them of people who know that the reality of life is pretty miserable and all the other fools were just lucky. If someday, when confronted with the realities of life, the lucky eccentric changes their opinion of the world, their reality will change accordingly, and when they finally open their eyes to the truth, they will be thrown right to the very back of the queue. So again, how you choose to view things changes everything, right? Perspective is everything. So if you want to look at, if you've been in cryptocurrency or you're into stocks and you look at this, and you could be like, oh my gosh, my portfolio's down, I've lost all this money. But what you really need to do is be looking at this as a once in a lifetime opportunity. All right. Companies, stocks, different crypto that we have believed in the past that you bought for 50, sometimes 100, 200% more is now on sale. So to me, that is a good thing. So we're going to look at two sectors today that we want to make sure you guys are paying attention when it comes to cryptocurrency. But first, I want to get to, what a lot of people are focusing on right now is what is going on with the stock market and the economy in general. So let's start off with some good news. Inflation has fallen to 1.22%. That is pure trueflation, which is a lot more accurate than the government reporting agency BLS. BLS still has it at 2.8, which has obviously come down from, I think we were up by like 4 or 5%. But I saw this video this week, and let's start with some more positive news. The European Union is ready to negotiate 0-for-0 tariff deal with the United States. We also had Vietnam offers to remove all tariffs on U.S. imports to avoid President Trump's tariffs. India wants to negotiate a new and balanced trade deal with the U.S. Israel has already called him and started it. Taiwan is offering 0 tariffs. So again, what the tariffs are doing is working. And I want us to watch this video because this guy does a great job of explaining why we need these tariffs.
Here's how Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent plans to save the US economy, explained in under 2 minutes. This is your tax revenues of the United States of America. It's about 17% of GDP. The biggest spending in the United States goes to welfare. This is closely followed by Medicaid. And then after that, we've got defense, we've got interest payments on debt. As you can see, there is a big shortage of revenues compared with your costs. And that is especially because the interest on the debt is getting bigger all the time. When you spend more than your revenues, that is called a budget deficit. He said, here's my 4 plans to fix the budget deficit and this unsustainable debt path that we are on. Number one, we have to grow the economy. Now, you don't grow an economy by increasing taxes. No, we've got to cut taxes. One of these disappears straight away. The only way to increase your revenues when you're cutting taxes is to get the economy bigger, because this is a percentage of GDP. So bigger GDP equals a higher real number. Secondly, we've got to cut interest rates. That makes the debt interest payment in the future more sustainable. Then,
now this is the big one. And this is exactly what Trump's doing. This is exactly what he said his plan would be, is we have a lot of debt coming up that is going to mature, and we need to lock that in at a lower interest rate. If we lock that in at the current interest rates, we are all screwed. So we have got to get interest rates down. That is what Trump is pushing for. I believe, he's kind of toyed with this on Truth Social, but I believe he's wants to see the stock market crash in order to get interest rates lowered by the Fed. So I think this is all calculated and planned. And again, we'll go into how this is really Trump just taking from the rich and giving back to the middle class. But this is huge because, as you guys can see, we're already paying over $1 trillion a year in interest payments. Okay, that is not sustainable. Staying with the status quo can no longer be done. There needs to be a financial reset.
Co-President Musk comes into play. You got to cut the spending, right? You got to sack all those consultants. You've got to start laying off public sector workers, but that's all right because you're growing the economy. Therefore, there's more private sector jobs to take up the slack. So unemployment rate doesn't go up. Unemployment not going higher means that interest rates can go down. Next, you slap a load of tariffs on foreign countries that aren't paying their fair share, and therefore you start to build this revenue.
And I love what he said there about fair share, because we often hear that from the left, who typically want more taxes on the wealthy, is that they're not paying their fair share. Well, take that same logic you use and then look at it for what other countries are doing to us and have been since World War II, is completely robbing us by charging massive tariffs when we're not doing the same.
Side. Now remember, the two don't have to equal each other. Traditionally, tax revenues are about 18% of GDP, and spending in most Western economies is around about 22%. Why can governments spend 4% more as a percentage of GDP than they take in tax and revenues? Well, it's down to GDP growth and inflation. This is where inflation is a government's friend. It might not help you with the cost of your groceries, but it does mean over time, if you manage to grow your economy by 2% a year through productivity gains or through demographics, then stick 2% inflation on top of that, meaning you get real GDP growth of 2% and you get nominal GDP growth of 4%. That is the difference between your tax revenues of 18 and your spending of 22. Now, the next thing you do to help the economy grow is deregulate the banks. If banks are lending more, companies can borrow, they can hire more staff, and they can expand their profits. So there is some additional tax revenue from that corporation tax. Therefore, as you manage to grow the economy and get that GDP growth, as you cut interest payments, you cut a little bit out of defense, and you get rid of a lot of consultants, and you start to charge some of your friends some tariffs. Slowly, you build the economy, you get economic growth going up again, and you've got your balanced budget. This is how Scott Bessent plans to save the US economy.
Now, perfectly said. And, that's what we see happening with people negotiating, with inflation coming down. Obviously, we've seen egg prices come down. Oil is now below $60 a barrel, I believe, since like 2020. So again, this is great for Main Street. This is great for the middle class. And again, stocks and especially crypto is on sale. All right. If you look at this is for the month, Okay, you can see other than a few outliers. All right, let me switch the screen. So we can just do the window now. All right, so if you look at the last month, unless you went heavy into fart coin, which yes, that is a real coin, you're probably down this month. All right, if we look at the week, it's pretty much the same. All right, we can look at today. There is some green waking up, but you know, right now you guys got to look at where things have been, right? I mean, you look at something like Solana. I'm not a huge Solana guy, right? But the fact that Solana was under $100 today, that's the chance of a lifetime. I mean, it has been, let's see, let's get the price. I mean, Solana was above 250 twice in the last year, and now it's over 50% off below $100. So if you love Solana, this is a chance of a lifetime to load up, right? If you love XRP, it's under $2 now. Chainlink has been to $50 and is under 12 now. Avalanche under 17, Sui at 2, HBAR back to 15 cents, right? I was buying HBAR at 5, 6 cents, and you know, it went up to 30 or 40, I think, but now it's basically half off again. And yeah, almost got to 40. So we got HBAR half off, right? The chance of a lifetime to load up on the projects that you love. Now there's that I have been talking about that I want to make sure everyone is aware of. Okay, the first one is this crypto called Tau. This deals with decentralized AI. It's also called BitTensor. Again, under $200 today. This thing has traded at 700 just in December. I mean, geez, what is that? Like a 70, 80% sale on BitTensor Tau. And here's the cool part I want to show you guys is they have these things called subnets, and they're kind of like, you could think of them as like AI startups. There's over 64 of them. This one called Shoots is the number one. The subnet alone has a market cap of 42 million. But if you look what some of these are doing in just the last week, 2,000%, 1,000%, 697, 274, 233, 172, 134, 128. This is one that I bought this week. Vortex, subnet 7 up 82%. So as you guys can see, there are still opportunities in this market. But sadly, what most people do is they just look at this little narrow thing and be like, oh, well, today crypto's down. You know, they stop paying attention. They stop, you know, researching, getting educated. And that's the worst thing you guys can do. This is the time to lock in, even if you're not a crypto guy, if you're into stocks, if you're into gold and silver, if you're into real estate, right? This is the time to pay attention because of the amazing buying opportunities we are going to have. Now, the other thing is tokenizing of real world assets. Okay. The number one crypto narrative, the number one thing that is going to bring real value and real utility to this market is real world assets. So this just came out on April 4th. Tokenized assets in US near 20 billion as DTCC launches app chain for real-time tokenized asset management. So the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation has launched a new tokenized real-time collateral management platform, signaling a major institutional commitment to decentralized finance infrastructure in the United States. The initiative is built as an app chain and represents the first industry-wide use of blockchain native financial network to facilitate digital asset-backed collateral operations across markets. So again, this is here to stay, guys. It's going to be massive. There's going to be huge institutions that join this. And you can go to rwa.xyz to see that there is 19.69 billion on chain right now. Is it expected? Citibank and some other banks are forecasting that this can reach 20 trillion by 2030. I want you to think about how massive that growth is, from 20 billion to 20 trillion in 5 years. Now, I'm excited to be partnered with Trusted Smart Chain. They are leading this revolution in bringing real world assets on chain and doing everything by the book. They're filing Reg A and Reg D with the SEC. These guys have experience of over 100 years. Of bringing over 100 companies onto the NASDAQ and Wall Street. So this is the wave of the future, guys. If you know how dirty and corrupt the stock market is, that what happened with GameStop, naked shorting, dark pools, and then the only other place for companies to turn to raise capital is private equity. And I'm going to do a whole video breaking that down, but essentially they're bankrupting all of these companies by getting them into bad financial situations. You guys have maybe heard of how Michael's is struggling and Joanne Fabrics is going out of business, even though 97% of their stores were profitable. That is because of private equity. So if you guys want to learn and understand how you can leverage real world assets, get rewarded daily in digital asset rewards, come here. The link is down below, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. I have this whole page, give you the intro video, watch the full presentation. When you're ready to buy a node, you can reach out to me if you have any questions. But again, if you are not getting into this narrative now of bringing real world assets onto the blockchain, you are going to get left behind. So that is it, guys. I hope you guys have an awesome week. We'll be live on the Runners tomorrow night at 10:15 p.m. Eastern Standard. As always, we're going to have an awesome guest there. But I wanted to go live today. Make sure you guys stay positive and look at this as an opportunity of a lifetime to get these amazing assets at such great prices. I think even gold and silver is down right now. I saw silver was down below $30. If you can find it, because I heard mints are running out. Keep stacking assets, guys. Keep focused on positivity, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Lace up, let's get wealthy. Peace.